Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our discussions over the course of the 31 days with regard to cop films or police films and gangster films from the year 1970 to the present times. And so that covers a wide expanse of years. However, at the same time, hopefully that also can afford us with the opportunity for the fun and engaging endeavor of choosing which films to talk about over the course of the 31 days. Today, and specifically with respect to this video, I'd like to focus in on the cop or police film genre, or maybe to take a little step back. When I use this phrase, I want to use it as broadly and as liberally as possible in terms of subjecting the term to as wide a scope of interpretation as possible, thus to cover as many potential, say, subgenres or subcategories within the general field. And so I explain this because the film I wanted to talk about today with regard to this genre could be said to be what is about the aspect of law enforcement, and to be specific, law enforcement in the United States, and to be even more specific, law enforcement in the United States on the United States federal level. And so we are not talking about, say, local jurisdictions of police or police officers in, say, cities or states, but rather municipalities, etc. But we are talking about the federal level. And specifically here, we are talking about the legal enforcement mechanisms and organs that are associated with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States, or FBI. And I mention this, therefore, because the film that I wanted to speak about today is one from 1986, and it has a stellar cast, included in which are, for example, Stephen Lang and Joan Allen and Brian Cox and Dennis Farina and Tom Noonan and William Peterson and others. This is a thoroughly engaging, ultra stylish film that is very much part of the 80s feel and aesthetic in terms of that cool neon glow and the like, in terms of the lights and shine and aesthetic that is also encapsulating or capturing this neo-noir feel that is fueling this procedural type of film from the point of view of the FBI investigation, as well as the subject matter of such investigation being these very grisly and very frightening killings revolving around a serial killer. And so without further ado, let me now introduce this work. Again, this is a 1986 work. The director is Michael Mann, and the name of the work is Manhunter. Manhunter is a film that is based upon a novel by Thomas Harris, which is called Red Dragon. And I mentioned that it is taking place, or it covers as part of one of its primary or significant components of the plot. It covers this FBI investigation, or investigation involving FBI agents or investigators or profilers, or to be specific, a former profiler who is asked to come in and come back to serve and to be part of a current investigation involving a serial killer at loose. And this is the character played by William Peterson and Will Graham, and his involvement brings about further steps along the way in terms of these grisly killings that have all the authorities essentially essentially lost in their tracks. And so it's up to the skilled investigative techniques and insight and great intelligence of Will Graham, the William Peterson character, to try to get a handle of what these serial killings are and who the perpetrator or perpetrators might be. So that's one side of the coin. And yet the other side of the coin is the opposite end of that. And perhaps during the course of this film, we might see a little bit, or perhaps not just a little bit, quite a lot, in fact, we might see glimpses into the life or lives of the people that could be subject to that particular investigation, the people that, or the persons, the person or persons that might be involved or responsible for these killings, and to see that side of the equation play itself out while the FBI investigation side is playing itself out as well. And speaking of this interesting link or divide or link or crossover between the hunter and the hunted, or perhaps in another way of speaking, this crossover or divide or overlap between the investigator and the investigated. One of the very, I think, almost fascinatingly twisted aspects of the sort of the subject matter involves the interactions or the discussions between Will Graham on the one hand and a character who is known as Hannibal Lecter. And here Hannibal Lecter is played by Brian Cox. And so the character of Hannibal Lecter, I think, has appeared in other very films that have enjoyed a great deal of critical and commercial success, as well as being from the world, the literary mind and imagination of Thomas Harris, the author. But here we have a screen representation or performance by Brian Cox of this character, Hannibal Lecter, and his interactions here with William Peterson's Will Graham. And we have yet another an interesting, fascinating, as I say, twisted dimension to this already set of grisly, twisted details that form the backbone, or perhaps the very strong details of the plot. Namely, in order to catch a killer, the concept being one must try to get into the mind or have the insight of a killer. And so that means trying to get some kind of insight or clue or hint or lead, and by doing and in order to do that or achieve that, it is up to Will Graham to try to rely on all of the investigative techniques at his disposal, including consultation in these in the almost very abstract cinema visual terms, these consultation scenes between him on the one side and Hannibal Lecter character on the other. So this adds, I think, yet a further fascinating, haunting dimension that also has the potential of threatening the very sort of psychological livelihood of Will Graham, as well as maybe possibly, depending on how the plot develops, maybe leading to some very serious and significant risks to Will Graham's person himself, as well as to his close family and his loved ones. And so there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of danger involved, not to mention, of course, the direct subject matter of the investigation itself, involving the serial killings that are taking place, and the idea of the tooth fairy killings, etc. So these, I think, form very grisly and quite disturbing details of the backdrop. But again, this is the type of story that a film like Manhunter is, and given that context, this story is set or taking place showing us various facets of the investigative process, both the investigators and the investigated, and also we see various through lines, including the mind, the very disturbed mind of the perpetrators involved, as well as the intimate personal details that also make up those subplots of character and character development, as well as the danger and threat and cruelty of the world that this film is showing and the characters in this film inhabit. So it is all in here in terms of the maybe the psychological complexity, combined with the scenes of suspense, tension, and action. And indeed, there are also those in really strong doses as well. Now, we should mention too, I mentioned at the very start of this discussion, the idea of this being lit in in this this wonderful type of color palette of light, shadow, and neon, and that color palette really, I think, supports the notion of the type of stylized construction of the world that also has hidden dangers, as well as unearthing a style of, say, ultra neo-noir, cool, chic, for lack of a better phrase. This is due to, for example, the great legend Dante Spinotti and his great camera lens techniques and photography techniques on display here. And of course, we have to mention too the sort of the ultra cool crime saga aesthetic of Michael Mann. Michael Mann, as a director of this type of film, I think has a really brilliant track record. And of course, part of that track record, very appropriately so, is the strength of a film like Manhunter. I mean, we have a thriller, a mystery, or series of mysteries. We have in-depth discussions and dealings with characters and their psychological profiles and the way that they are psychologically traumatized by various events, both emotional and physical. And when we're talking about the physical-based events, these set pieces are quite stunning and very thought out, but also quite chaotic, purposefully so, in order to remind us of the chaos of the world that we're dealing with, and the purpose of characters like Will Graham in terms of trying to protect the innocent from the chaos of this world. So we get these very frightening glimpses into the chaos of the world, as well as misunderstandings, as well as hurt emotional feelings leading to drastic consequences, as well as manipulation, emotional and psychological turmoil, and the like. And also, we get incredibly vivid glimpses into the minds of the investigators in question. So we have these wonderful scenes, very compelling scenes of investigation, and Will Graham and company going through, sifting through the evidence, forensic evidence materials, as well as other supplementary or reference materials, tapes, videos, pictures, and case files, and the like, and scenes and crime scenes, and going through all of this evidence, sifting through it very methodically, very carefully, and going over things again and again and again. This act of repetition is also very important, and it serves the film so well. There are some brilliantly rendered scenes that show the investigative instincts at work by Will Graham and others in such a cinematic fashion that it's so bold and inventive. These are really great scenes of investigative work and examination of forensic evidence and the like. And so we have, I think, in total, just a thoroughly mesmerizing and quite frightening, also surprisingly moving, and a very compelling film that is operating on all cylinders when it shows us the story. And as I say, it's a very frightening, scary, and grisly story. Because the subject matter calls for that, of course. But in that, we have the great way in which the tale is being told. The story is unraveling and revealing its secrets to us, the viewers, as we go forward. It is creepy. It is incredibly, and I mean this on a complimentary level, it is incredibly mind-numbing. There are some brilliant uses of music and song that are, I think, used to very classic, iconic, great effect. And it serves the overall capacity of the work, which is, as I say, this great, grand procedural suspense crime thriller to the max. This is Michael Mann's work, which is Manhunter. Okay, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very, very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.